If I get an early pick, I'm just taking names.
There's no point to take Strat, right? Like, is there a point to take Strat in a best ball format?
And you change your name to Stephen A. Swift. You are the leader. You are a different group of Swifties.
I think Jameson Williams is going to outscore. He's going to outpoint Amon-Ra St. Brown this year.
The stats are kind of fugazi, man.
Come on.
Let's go.
There's like 50 feet of shit and then Clymer and Henderson.
I think it's a buying opportunity for the Chiefs, actually.
You ever see me take Bryce Young as a quarterback, even as a backup? Smack me when you see me in Vegas.
I'm all about Devontae Adams.
They're hurting their own team. You could just turn around later and take, Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin.
I just go, what the fuck are they doing at running back?
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to our first ever live draft coverage of an FFPC Big Gorilla draft. My co-host, Dave Terpoilli, should be hopping on shortly. Brian Drake's co-host, John Hansen, should be dropping in shortly. But while I have Brian Drake, let me introduce him. He is a 2024 recipient of Football Article of the Year, and he knew about Oronde Gadsden before you did. And now, hopping onto the show, very special guest, very excited to have him. The guru himself, an FSWA Hall of Famer, a fantasy football pioneer, and the majority owner of Fantasy Points, John Hansen. Guru, thank you for hopping on to the show.
You got it. Happy to be here. What's going on?
Not much. As me and Brian were talking at the start of the show, you always think that, maybe it's a slow news day. We're still in May, and then we get Bucky Irving. Todd Bowles, the exact quote is Bucky Irving expected back sometime in the summer or fall, which is what fantasy drafters love to hear. Josh Jacobs just turned himself in on charges of domestic abuse and battery, strangulation, suffocation. He is denying the charges, but very intrigued to see where those two fall. And then even from the past week, Rashee Rice will be rehabbing his injury in jail.
You know what this all means? This all means that it's the NFL season, baby. All of our takes get destroyed by off-the-field activities. Not all, but some. Too many of them to count. But, yeah, we were talking about Bucky Irving on our last podcast over at Fantasy Points, and I'm like, this backfield looks like a three-headed monster. Of course, with this news, it might be a two-headed monster for a few weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but most importantly, you can find Brian and John, the guru, at the Fantasy Points podcast twice a week. So if you're looking for their great insight, great info, please clock in to their podcast. Brian, I want to start with you, though, more on Bucky Irving. Mm-hmm. How far do you think he falls? How uncertain are we? Schefter kind of clarified the Todd Bowles comment, and assumably sources close to Bucky Irving are saying that he is going to be back later in training camp. But, he kind of had a third round, fourth round ADP, but he's been slipping. I would expect to kind of really send a spiral in his draft stock.
Yeah, the ADP that I see on him right here for FFPC has him at the 4-1. So, in that range, you're making a decision at running back. Would you rather have Javonte Williams? I'd say at this point, absolutely. Quinshon Judkins coming off the broken fibula, whatever. Cam Scatteraboo with some injury history. So it's not exactly the cleanest running back, spot in the draft. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I tweeted out today. I said, I'm going to save you guys a lot of trouble. Just don't draft Bucky Irving. Let someone else be the hero. Because we saw this down the stretch last year. He wasn't healthy. He had this shoulder issue that cost him 7 games. Then all of a sudden they were using, Rachaad White. They were using my guy Sean Tucker at the goal line. Now they added Kenny Gainwell to the mix. This is lining up to doing the exact same thing as they had last year. So, yeah, I have less than no interest in Bucky Irving right now, especially in the 4th round. Way too many other options to take there. Someone else is going to land him on this team. I'm curious to see. I'm going to say he goes in the 6th round of this draft tonight.
Okay. John, any predictions on your end about where Bucky Irving goes today?
I mean, I might go 7th on that one there, because that's right around the range where, all the running backs are not good. And, a lot of people are taking quarterbacks. That's probably a good round range to start, to even start looking at the quarterbacks, like maybe a Joe Burrow or something like that. But I just had some thoughts on the draft thus far. I'm looking at it on my board here. I see Justin Jefferson. I was in one of these last year. I think it was the big one.
Mm-hmm.
And I freaking took Jefferson at 4 overall. Somehow I finished 3rd in the league. I went back and I just looked. I lost by in the playoffs by like 4 points, and I probably would have won. You know the old story. Would have won if I advanced to the next round, but that's a pretty good value there with the improved quarterback play for Jefferson. Trey McBride, look, I was a Trey McBride guy from day one, so I love this guy. He's one of my favorite players in the league. Great story, great guy to root for. Durable as hell, but man, with Love there, he's going to soak up some of those targets. We might get a full year of Harrison and Wilson, and they're probably going to make a quarterback change at some point to evaluate Carson Beck. So, I get it with tight end premium, but 10 overall is a little strong there for McBride. Bowers, with the 4th pick of round 2, much better. But overall, this looks pretty typical, before I even looked at a draft this year or saw a draft, because I'm big at, looking at the board and, trying to decipher based on the level of talent at all the positions. Okay, what's my optimal route, round 1? And the first thing I thought of as well, with David Montgomery gone and Tyler Algier gone, like that's a done deal. Like Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson should go 1-2. Your order is up to you, but they really should go 1-2, no doubt about it, and they have.
Yeah, and it's been getting pretty consistent, followed up with Jamar, Puka, JSN in that order, although we've seen some McCaffrey gets bumped up at times. My co-host, Dave Terpoilli, welcome on. Got the kids to bed.
Fashionably late.
Yeah, fashionably late. Terp, I got to ask you, some love in the chat. I'm going to dive right into it. For Team 12's running back start, James Cook, Chase Brown, Fantasy Sopranos in the chat chiming in that James Cook is their favorite running back outside of Gibbs and Bijan. What are your thoughts on Team 12 start?
I mean, if you're starting at the 12th pick, it's a really good start. I mean, Chase Brown is clearly the bell cow in Cincinnati. They don't really have anybody behind him. I mean, P. Ryan's still there, a couple of unknowns, and also a good offense with a terrible defense is always a plus. Checkdowns is always, pretty important when it comes to Chase Brown. And James Cook, I mean, it's really hard not to love him this year. Obviously, he came on. A lot of people were calling for his demise last year, then signed a big deal. And to get him there is just great value. I definitely have him higher than that, so that's definitely solid too. But it just doesn't – the only thing that doesn't make sense to me coming in a little late is why is Brock Bowers not going in the first round? I know John was just talking about Trey McBride, and I 100% agree with what he said. I'm out on Trey McBride this year. If you're guessing McBride versus Bowers, it's Bowers for me 100 times out of 100. Yeah, I know a lot of things can happen with injuries and all this stuff, but if Harrison's healthy, Wilson's healthy, Love there, Algier is going to be a pain in the butt, and then a total unknown at quarterback. Let's just say they pay Jacoby Brissett. That's great. Cool. We all love that. That's good for fantasy, right? But they're going to stink. Did you see their schedule? They might not win a game for a really long time. So who's going to be the quarterback? Jacoby Brissett all year? No, they're going to give Carson Beck a chance or somebody else. And who the heck knows what that would look like for fantasy purposes. So to me, Bowers is going too low. I've seen it
lowest he's gone in the last month in Baby Gorilla drafts.
This is extremely surprising to me. I expect Bowers by the time we draft in September and we're drafting live in Vegas to be right in the middle of the first round.
Yeah, his ADP in the Baby Gorilla has settled in kind of back into the first, but we've seen him rise since the start of drafts in late January, February, especially. Brian, I got to ask you: are you still surprised to see Malik Neighbors going in the first 2 rounds? Another guy with really kind of concerning injury reports. There's even seems to be a sense of maybe unknown about whether he'll even be ready for week 1. So, are you surprised to see him there at the 212?
Yeah, but when you're doing these kind of high stakes leagues, and sometimes you just need to be a little bit different, you take a swing, because I highly doubt that this is the only team that the guy drafting at the 101 is going to draft. So in a situation like this where you're going to have a large number of teams and you can get Malik Neighbors after his ADP, which is, I believe, the 209. So, hey, you take a shot at him. We see it every year. John and I just mentioned on our podcast where we have this injury news and we're petrified of it all summer. And then the guy gets into training camp and maybe he doesn't play a game or two, and then all of a sudden, he's totally fine for week 1. No, nothing to see here, and they go out and they have a great season. We see it every single year. I'm not saying that's going to be the case with Neighbors, but the Giants are under no, penalty of death to give us great information on Malik Neighbors. Why? What's the point? I probably would pass on him because I think I'm going to be a little more risk averse here than most. But yeah, if he falls into the 3rd round for you, look, would you rather have a banged up Malik Neighbors or Chris Olave or AJ Brown, who went in the 3rd, Rashee Rice, who's currently getting his legs serviced in a county prison? So
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Nico Collins. John, we talked about Nico Collins on the last show. Nico Collins here going at the 3-7. We talked about loving him at the 2-3 turn.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to comment because, I'm big on getting as many tier 1 guys. I think we all are, right? Last year, I only saw 5 truly elite wide receivers, and that did kind of play out. Jefferson wasn't one of the 5 essentially. But it's very top heavy. So it's a very interesting decision by Team 12 to go running back. Now, they make up for it right away, going Ted McMillan and Devontae Smith. But I would have had a very hard time passing on CeeDee Lamb or even Justin Jefferson after taking James Cook, because now you've got that basically anchor, high-end, truly elite wide receiver. I mean, Ted McMillan's probably never going to be truly elite because of the quarterback Bryce Young, and then Devontae Smith. I love him like a son. I mean, I've been a backer of his from literally day one every year. Love him, but he's kind of underwhelmed a little bit, and now they got all these mouths to feed. Yeah, he's going to be the one, but he's not that true alpha one. So, might be 6 of one, half a dozen the other. Would you rather have James Cook, Lamb, and then Tet, and then another running back, or the way they did? But I would have gone with Lamb. I would have been hard pressed. It would have been hard for me to pass on Lamb.
Mm-hmm. No, CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson there. And I mean, you mentioned it, even Kyron, David Montgomery are guys who, if you waited, you could have gotten them at that 3-4 turn and had that kind of consistent floor that we've seen from those two while pairing that elite receiver, specifically with CeeDee and James Cook. Terp, I got to ask you, it's always, we always kind of clarify, we have done enough of these drafts to know that some of these guys on auto pick, unknown what the deal is, but that some of these guys set their queue and then just come watch the stream. So the auto pick is their pick. So I'm intrigued to see. Josh Jacobs falls about half a round. Bucky Irvin falls little.
I don't even know if he fell.
No,
he didn't. Josh Jacobs have been going at the 303 over the last month in this format. This is the lowest he's gone, but still not dramatic. Although, I mean, it's just so hard to tell because we see how these legal issues work, how they're long. The NFL doesn't often rule, it seems, until a legal decision is made and if it gets tied up in court. So, I mean, who knows what's going to be the deal? I'll ask this, putting aside, the heinous nature of what he's being accused of, could some drafters be getting a value in Jacobs as he continues to fall if we have a situation like we've seen with bunch of players? I mean, Rashee Rice, in some ways, the most recent one where these legal situations don't play out. And, this is Kamara, another one where the suspensions actually get delayed until past years. Brian, I'll go with you on that one.
This is a great way for us to crowbar in a plug for our guest this week on the Fantasy Points podcast,
yes, sir.
Davenport, who is Mr. Legal Advice.
Perfect timing.
Best in the business.
Yeah, so we'll have Drew on. Check that out Friday when the show drops. But, yeah, you're right, because we don't necessarily know when the legal process and all of the appeals that go through and they defer these things. Josh Jacobs could absolutely just play the entire season. There's, no precedent that says just because he's accused today, he's going to be suspended for the season. I'll defer to Drew when I talk to him for the show this week, but I would just kind of go as Josh Jacobs is going to play the entire season as is. And, if it's anything like the past few years in Green Bay, it's going to be fantastic. And, getting him as your second running back in the middle of the 3rd round, there's nothing wrong with that. What do you guys think of that team from the 9 hole there that doesn't have a wide receiver yet? You're not going to have an alpha, that's for sure. So you're kind of just going to be plugging away with a bunch of 2s and 3s.
only 2 wide receivers though in the required starting lineup. So you could load up with 4 running back flexes. So far, I got to say, Team 2 is, I think, crushing it. You corner the running back market with Bijan and Derrick Henry, and then you get essentially 3 1s for their teams. Pickens a 1A. Of course, I'm worried about the volatility of George playing under the franchise tag, but I'm very high on Ladd McConkey this year. They'll do more 2 wide receiver sets this year. Good offense, 2 offensive minds there. And then Zay Flowers, he's good. I'm a little underwhelmed. I was a huge Zay Flowers guy coming out. He hasn't done a lot down the field, but, he is their clear one, and he is productive. So that's a real nice start there. You're good. I mean, they're done. Not done, but, you've got a real strong foundation for a starting lineup already.
Terp, I want to ask you, sub Devonta Smith in for Cam Scatterbo, and tell me how much you love teammate if they had done that, or even maybe
better. It's not that I don't like Scatterbo. It's just I'm very, very high on Devonta Smith. I would have took any of those 4 receivers over him, and probably a couple of the ones that went after him. You have Amari and Hampton, you can build around that. Taking Devonta Smith, even with Josh Allen, I think the team just looks better with St. Brown, Hampton, Devonta Smith, Allen, and Adams than it does with Scatterbo. Not that I'm a hater on Scatterbo, but I just feel it. I definitely would have taken Travis Etienne over. We all know I'm a Travis Etienne stan. I'm even going to be a bigger Travis Etienne stan this year. I got a feeling if Kamara gets cut, Etienne's going to be up there in the Jeremiah Love, Kenneth Walker category by the time we draft for Vegas.
Are we sure that Scatterbo's good, by the way?
What was that?
Are we sure Cam Scatterbo's good?
We know he can get volume, but that's about it.
Injury-wise, who knows? I mean, it was a pretty.
He showed some really nice flashes last year, but a
lot of the love for him is that they didn't draft anyone. Like, it was just widely expected that they were going.
Tyrone Tracy has underperformed, but he still is there, and he's still going to get work. It's not going to be the Scatterbo show, and then obviously the injury history. To me, I'm very high on. I know a lot of people this year, their mentality on going in the drafts is get the running backs early, receivers really, really deep. And I agree with that to a point. But I really, really like that. You could really set yourself up with some really great teams with the hero RB. Starting with one, filling in the second one later, and just loading up on these receivers. Because you're talking about, look at these guys going in the 5th round. John talked about.
Where are the 0 RB guys, by the way? Are they still around, or did they all retire?
There's a lot of people that I talk to that are trying to do it and just to see how it works out. But I love what Team 3 did. Team 3 is a very good drafter. Love the draft so far. The question is, who are you going to click the button every week? 0 RB is risky, and obviously, I know he does a ton of drafts, so he's not worried about risk. But if he could find 2 running backs with those receiver group and tight end, maybe mix in a Caleb Williams. A ton of potential, but it's risky. 0 RB is not. You're looking at starting guys like RJ Harvey.
Yeah, that's the issue. And you get to round 6 or 7, and I'm looking at the ADP and just the running back position. I mean, there's
simple question: are you rather taking RJ Harvey and Chuba Hubbard or Carnell Tate and Christian Watson? I'm never saying the running backs ever.
No. I mean, those guys are. Yeah, you're in Jalen Warren, Ramondre.
Yeah.
I mean, the best guy might be my guy Uncle Rico and Kyle Manungai. That's what
even them. Are you really excited about clicking their button every week?
Well, I would be excited about clicking Uncle Rico, but
we all love Rico, but you're still not excited about clicking that button.
No, if you're starting like Team 3 has, though, I'm feeling very good if a Manungai falls to me. Kenneth Gainwell, I'm intrigued to see if he goes here, right? Especially with the Bucky news.
He should move up.
He should, but we will see. John, I got to ask you, back in round 5, what do you make of Jalen Waddle in Denver? Right on cue. Kenneth Gainwell goes to Team 3. But John, I want to ask about Jalen Waddle because he's a guy who's under-discussed. He's had a really, really solid career. Yeah. He's never elevated to superstardom, but now new team, Bo Nix, Sean Payton, AFC Championship appearance last year. They're looking to him to maybe either be the 1A or 1B with Cortland Sutton. What do you make of Waddle at his current ADP in the 5th round?
Well, I'll harken back to the TV show The League on FX. You guys watch that show back in the day?
Yep.
I was on an episode playing myself doing a radio show, and we got a question about the Saints, and my quote was, Sean Payton is evil for fantasy football. He's got a new favorite receiver every week. That blows my mind. That was 16 years ago. He's not getting any better. He's getting worse. I understand the wide receiver room was improved. Jalen Waddle is an elite athletic wide receiver, although he hasn't really produced to that level. Over the course of his career, I found it interesting that he's been a zone beater. There was a couple years where it's like a Tyreek game or a Waddle game, and Bo Nix stinks against zone. That's number one. But between Sutton, Waddle, Franklin had a productive year last year, of course, played with Nix in college. Marvin Mims, you got to get him on the field. Otherwise, what the hell are we doing? Now, I understand the tight end room isn't all that great, so we're going to see a lot of wide receivers, 3-4 wide receivers. But Pat Bryant, too, was a third-round pick? And, of course, it's in Sean Payton's contract to throw 2-3 balls a little Jordan Humphrey every week. So I just think the volume is going to be a problem for Waddle.
Yeah, and RJ Harvey, too. I'm sure there's going to be schemed, plays for him. Brian, I want to ask you, of the rookie receivers going the 6th round, Jordan Tyson to the Saints, Carnell Tate to the Titans, which one do you prefer? Two guys who went in the top 10 of the NFL draft.
Oh, Jordan Tyson all day long. I'll take the offense. I like the play caller better. Sorry, Dayball, but I just love the pace of this offense. I love the fact they're going to push the ball down the field. They play in a dome. They play in a division where it's always a shootout. I think he's got the pedigree to be a wide receiver 1, and there's no saying that Chris Olave is going to be on this team a year from now, and Jordan Tyson could be the man in this offense. So maybe later in the season we actually kind of see that emergence. So, yeah, I would take him over Carnell Tate. There's a lot of guys in Tennessee, not saying any of them are great, and I'm not sure that Carnell Tate is great. He never proved to be that great in college. He was just kind of a really solid guy, and I think that's what he's going to be in the pros. He's just going to be a really solid receiver, much like Calvin Ridley or a Wan'Dale Robinson, who are there now. So, give me Jordan Tyson all day long. And I'm dying to see what the auto pick gives Team 9 here. Will they ever get a wide receiver?
Oh, wow.
Mad Genius of fantasy football is in nearly every one of our live drafts. So I think he's sometimes in the comment section. So I'm very intrigued to see if he ever pops in, if this is
I don't hate
going to plan.
I love the draft. I just want to see if he gets a wide receiver at some point.
Yeah, it's certainly a build. We'll see how we feel. These are why we love doing live drafts, because every build you're always going to see unique builds, and I just love seeing it unfold.
Maybe the quarterback.
Oh man,
I got the answer to one question here, guys, real quick. If I can crowbar in a thought, the best tight end value on the board in FFPC tight end premium in 2026 is Samuel Laporta, drafted by apparently my favorite team, team number 2. 18 career games with a route share of 75% or higher. Laporta has averaged 15.9 fantasy points per game, which would be good for tight end 2 in fantasy points per game last year. Basically, JMO got a lot more volume because Laporta was hurt, basically, at the end of the day. With Laporta active, JMO only got 4.5 targets, 52 yards, and 10 fantasy points. So I think it's something where we just need to be available to come through. That wide receiver room has been thinned out. They didn't do anything else. They lost some players on defense like Amik Robertson and Alex Anzalone, a.k.a. Fantasy Fabio. So I think Sam Laporta is primed for a bounce back here. In a solidified offense, a lot of continuity. They're going to lose a little bit with, no David Montgomery, and I think Sam Laporta is great value.
He's been banged up the last couple of seasons. Obviously had this stellar rookie campaign. John, I'm going to ask you, speaking of availability, the one maybe positive news report for fantasy drafters today was Jonathan Brooks looked good at the start of Panthers training camp. He goes as running back 31. Chuba Hubbard goes about just under a round ahead of him at running back 28 at the 605. Which Panthers running back are you rolling with, a position that's seen some success in recent years under Canales?
Yeah, and by the way, I think the O-line, they used the number 1 pick on Monroe Freeling. I think they've got some players here. It's not bad at all. They've got 4 tackles who are pretty good. I don't know about the interior; may not be amazing, but they're going to be run heavy. So I think they're. I mean, we saw it last year. They're going to have room for two guys in the backfield. I think I haven't really been a Chuba guy. Haven't had an opportunity to be a Jonathan Brooks guy, so it's a little early in the game there. But I would have to say Chuba because they're gonna trust him in the receiving game, in the passing game as well.
All right, guys, do they get a receiver here?
Hey, we got one.
Cortland Sutton leading the team. Never a good thing.
Oh yeah, never a good thing. Brian, I want to get your thoughts on if you have anything to add on to the Brooks and Chuba debate.
Chuba looked terrible last year. You know, he got paid maybe 2 years ago. That was a complete anomaly. Who knows? Jonathan Brooks was drafted to take that job. That was supposed to be his job, and he just can't stay healthy. I'm not going to say that he will this year, but I mean, in the 7th round, I mean, is that a little rich for a guy that we've never seen do it? Then again, if he wasn't injured the past few years, I mean, the guy would be the starting running back here. He'd probably go in the 3rd round. So, you know, it's worth a shot, especially in a high-stakes tournament like this where you want to try to be a little bit different. I like the fact that he's got Kenny Gainwell as well, but are those his only 2 running backs right now, are Gainwell and Brooks?
So far.
Yep.
Sometimes you got to go a little boring. And look, I've been guilty in my career of being like too aggressive on young ascending players and rookies. But last year, one of my favorite bargain tight ends, we talked about on our podcast all summer, your 3rd tight end in round 19, Dalton Schultz, who I took in my Gorilla draft last year, and I got him in the 18th round, and he was like starting for me down the stretch, like big time, you know, last 8-9 weeks of the year.
There's always tight ends drafted outside, I believe, the top 24 tight ends who finish as top 8, like every single year.
Every year. Like Travis Kelce. Wow.
Yeah. Tight end 3 last year, I believe, if I'm off the dome. He was a top 3 tight end.
What is it, like tight end 12 off the board here?
Yeah. Tight end 14.
Damn.
And it was
it's not sexy by any means, right? But that Terp you and me have talked about, you know, you're getting a guy who's in tight end premium, who very well is going to produce for you, get into the end zone. Especially Mahomes, another guy who looked pretty good in footage today.
Just look at it from a basic perspective. Like, don't overcomplicate things.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they add nobody. Let's say they add Stephon Diggs. Everybody talks about that being a cool spot. We don't know what's going on with Rice. Total wild card. Xavier Worthy has not been great since he's been there.
And he's not going to.
Orton, very average. Kelsey, maybe his last year. Mahomes healthy. I don't. It's really hard not to like Travis Kelce this year, especially where he's getting drafted. I mean, we all talk about obviously FFPC tight end premium, very important. But like, why would you take Oronde Gadsden over Travis Kelce? And I love Oronde Gadsden before David Njoku signed there.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense.
Well, good luck trying to figure out the Gadsden weeks, because there will be Gadsden weeks.
There's going to be Gadsden weeks. That's why you have best ball.
Is he Gadsden a best ball player?
Yeah,
John,
clicking Gadsden in an actual redraft would be a disaster.
I agree with that. And, you know, I think I was in the room when Oronde Gadsden was born. But I love the guy. But you can't take him in a league like that. Not as your tight end one.
That's a good one. I've never heard that one, actually. Love the guy. I was in the room when he was born.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime there, like, Brian, like genuinely in our years of doing this, anytime there's a Syracuse player, Sean Tucker, LaQuint Allen, Oronde Gadsden, you pop into my head.
I'm the only guy cheerleading. You want me to start naming off lacrosse players?
He tried to draft Jim Brown in a league. I'm like, dude, it's over.
Donovan McNabb.
You want Jake Stonehouse? He's a punter in the league.
He had that Donovan McNabb, Marvin Harrison combo. He had a little Rob Conrad as well at fullback.
Wow.
Great bar on Marshall Street on the Syracuse campus for years called Conrad's. Best thing the guy ever did.
Little Daryl Johnston.
At least they got Jerry McNamara. They got that going for him now.
Oh, we're back, baby. We're back.
And Fran, we trust. John, let me ask you. Josh Allen, Drake May, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and then Jaden Daniels. In some orders, pretty much always the first 5 quarterbacks off the board in FFPC drafts. And then from that point on, looking at it, you get either Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence. In this draft, Jackson Dart, Herbert, Dak. You might be wrong, and you might have a guy who's in that top 5 that I didn't list, but let's say that the 5 I listed are the top 5. Who's your QB6 in that like muddled clump of guys that I just named?
Lawrence.
Okay.
Is that in line with the question?
Yeah. No, that's exactly. That's all I need. No, I was just it's essentially who's your QB6 after.
Yeah,
the top
I mean,
5.
you know, he was the QB1, right, for the last 10 weeks of the season. A lot of that was the rushing touchdowns, but you know, he's got 12 rushing touchdowns he had in the 3 previous years. Like, it's a good offense. They were top 6 in points for. Liam Cohen's the real deal. Lawrence never looked more comfortable. Granted, the receiving core isn't amazing, but it's still really solid if Brian Thomas can return to form a little bit. Parker Washington was a revelation. Brenton Strange is solid as well. You know, I think Trevor Lawrence it's either him or Herbert for me in terms of the best value and ROI on the board. I'm definitely holding off to target those 2 guys as my QB1.
Terp, what about you?
Caleb Williams, Lawrence, Jalen Hurts.
Are you surprised Hurts hasn't gone off the board here, Terp?
It's hard because last year was just ugly. I mean, everybody, you know, they spent the capital on him. They thought it was going to be another Super Bowl type of situation for our beloved Philadelphia Eagles. And it wasn't. It was a complete disaster. Was it Hurts? Whether it's the OC, whether it's the head coach, who cares? New brand of football in there, new OC, it seems like things are positive. Obviously, A.J. Brown coming out of town, you know, some potential, you know, obviously with the rookie coming in, Goddard, Smith, obviously Barkley. A lot of positive press on Hurts. I think it's going to be a rebound season. I think that he's going to run more, which is always good for fantasy. But to me, Lawrence and Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams, I think, is going to take the next step this year to get up there in the top 5. Same thing with Lawrence. Like, we talk about it all the time. Like, everybody loves Josh Allen. If you're drafting volume teams, you want to have some Josh Allen because he could break a slate. He can get you 40, 45, a big number that some of these guys can't. But if you can survive those big numbers, give me the 9th round Hurts, the 9th round Lawrence, the 8th round, you know, Daniels, Caleb Williams, Herbert, any of those guys. I'm not going to hate on any of them. They all have, you know, something nice to say about it. So to me, it's Caleb Williams or Lawrence and then Hurts.
Brian,
we're also getting to the point real quick. Sorry to cut you off, but please. Where we need Josh Allen to run. We might be screwed if Josh Allen doesn't run.
Exactly.
I'm looking at fantasy points projections. We have him 20th in pass attempts on the season. That's scary.
Very much.
Yeah, because back in the day, we weren't getting James Cook first round in Buffalo, those early years of Josh Allen. That wasn't the case. It was Superman Cape Josh, go out there and do everything. And he doesn't have to anymore.
Nope.
Yeah. Brian, just even beyond Allen, would you even be comfortable taking the plunge on a Lamar or Drake? It just feels like that 8th, 9th, 10th rounds feels like the delineation between, you know, maybe your QB2 and your QB12 is so thin. Why even take the plunge on Lamar and Drake in 6th round capital when you can, you know, wait for Herbert?
It's always tantalizing when Lamar Jackson's on the board at a perceived value past ADP because you know he's a 2-time MVP. You know what he can do with his legs. Imagine if he ever, you know, figures out how to throw the ball and he has a receiver or two. So
they invested in the receiver room in the draft.
Yes, I mean Lamar will always be that guy. I'm on the side of saying I think the Patriots take a step back this year.
I agree.
Because I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, bullshit schedule. Now you got all this stuff with the coach. You know,
Why? What's going on with the coach? I haven't heard.
I'll slide in your DMs, send some screenshots. But yeah, you're going to get A.J. Brown. But again, everyone's going to be covering A.J. Brown. They're going to double A.J., see if Drake May can go somewhere else with the ball. You watch the Super Bowl. I mean, they made Drake May look like he was in 5th grade.
It was brutal. Yeah.
All right, just a random, non-fantasy. Were you guys surprised that the opening game is a Super Bowl rematch? For like that was a non-exciting football, and on top of that, knowing the Vrabel situation, it's just going to bring more eyes.
You get a big market in Boston against Seattle. I mean,
it makes sense, I guess. I would rather something a little bit more juicier, but the options are probably pretty limited.
Because again, what if the Patriots stink and you got to put them on all season long? Not that they're going to be bad, but I think Buffalo probably wins that division this year.
You'd think.
So you got to get them on early because once they're, you know, I think the Jets are much improved, by the way. So, you know, what if the Patriots are kind of a middling squad this year? You get them on early because later on in the season they're going to be boring when they're.
Yeah, you know, I really do like what the Jets are doing, but Aaron Glenn I think is just not a good coach. And that's
I agree.
Yeah.
Probably not. But hey, if Gino can right the ship, they got a ton of skill players out there now. John and I just talked about Breece Hall and what a turnaround season he could have. Our guy Scott Barrett, I was listening to a pod with him today. He's all over Breece Hall early. Look, Breece Hall here went early 3rd round, and it wasn't too
Should be
long
going
ago.
higher.
People were talking about him in the first.
Very high. Yeah, no, he's strong. I can't wait though for Frank Reich to ruin Mason Taylor. I'm looking forward to that and play 7 other different tight ends like Jeremy Ruckert, of course Kenyon Sadiq. That was one of my criticisms of Frank. Trying to get a little too fancy with way too many players involved here. We'll see, but they do look solid on paper. But Geno Smith was arguably the worst quarterback in the league last year, so that is a little scary because they're going to suck again, and they're going to shoot for a quarterback in 2027.
Arguably the worst quarterback in the league is an upgrade over what the Jets have put out there, though.
True. Yeah. But I mean, to go back to Brock Bowers real quick, because that was my thought. Like, I feel so much better about Brock Bowers this year.
Yeah.
I mean, Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll going into last year is like, man, this is not good. Kubiak is the man, though. I mean, between Kirky and Mendoza and Kubiak, Bowers is going to eat this year.
I mean, and the one last thing I'll say back to the Jets on Geno, he was one of the worst quarterbacks, and he declined in Seattle. That's the whole reason they let him go for the exchange for Darnold. But despite that decline, I mean, he was dealing with incompetence, the worst O-line in the league.
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, it
no
was
weapons. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see.
I was surprised, by the way, that Genty went in round 1. That's pretty optimistic.
Last couple of days, a lot of positive press coming out from Kubiak saying he's going to be the guy.
Sure.
It's all it takes in these drafts. These drafts are very reactionary when it comes to that stuff. You see one positive thing come out, and Genty, instead of being at the end of the first round, now is moving up, and it's only going to continue. Stuff like this, you're going to see it. We always see it every year. It's almost June.
How many
The
balls
risers,
Genty catches this year?
Probably not a lot.
I mean, it could be like 50. Let's see what we're projecting.
I can see him in the 40 range.
If it's Kirky, he's going to want to get the ball out of his hand. That's
Actually,
why we love Bowers so much.
We are projecting 58.
Wow.
Which, if he's catching 58 balls and
be a
being on
solid
the
pick.
field,
he's
probably going too low.
I mean, but isn't there, and this is by no means can I call myself a film junkie, but I read people who are, and there is some, people out there, despite all the positive buzz, who say that Genty doesn't necessarily fit Kubiak's scheme, just in the first place, which is just,
that's true.
I don't think
can
it
see him
matters.
being more of a man gap guy, and But I mean, most of these guys at high end talents like that, like you should be able to run.
They figure it out.
They make
any
it work.
scheme. Yeah.
And it goes back to Genty, despite not necessarily meeting expectations last year, still had a pretty solid season despite one of the worst O-lines of all time, coaching incompetence. So it makes you wonder, we are all believers in Clint Kubiak, better quarterback situation, even a slightly improved offensive line. I can understand why that buzz is there. But for me, Turk, let me ask you this. For you, Ash, not even looking at the ADPs, just side by side, Ashton Genty or Marion Hampton?
Ashton Genty.
Oh, Genty, yeah. I agree.
All you guys? Okay.
Honestly, I don't even think it's close.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it's a hot take at all, but I think Keaton Mitchell's going to be way more involved in that offense than people are letting known. And I'm not saying Hampton's a scrub. I wasn't the biggest Hampton fan coming out of school. He was okay last year, obviously banged up a little bit.
I like Judkins more than Hampton last year.
Judkins looked really good last year too, but then it's Cleveland and
the injury.
How that goes sometimes.
I mean, going into the draft, going into the season, I thought Judkins. I kind of felt like he was a little more talented than Hampton.
I mean, I think the Judkins, the slight, dip for him was just because he had to share a backfield with Travion at Ohio State. It's like the same thing with, in my opinion, why I am a believer in Cornell Tate. Brian, I know you had mentioned, he was, just solid. If you put Cornell Tate on pretty much every other program in the country, I think he produces, and we don't talk about him as just a solid guy. I think those elite college programs, their stars sometimes get suppressed value a bit because it's just so loaded.
It's like Justin Jefferson coming out of LSU.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, everyone's talking Jeremiah Smith. Why was Carnell Tate not the go-to guy or the one per se? Because Jeremiah Smith is a freaking transcendent talent.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody who saw Justin Jefferson come out knew you should take Jalen Rager ahead of him, John. Let's be honest.
I will.
Well, that was the COVID year, unfortunately. We had no training camp, which sucked.
Oh,
Terp had to pop out as soon as
did we hear his wife scream for him like, I need help with these kids? And he stopped us.
I don't know if it was the wife or Stassi or Scotty, but someone was yelling him in as a good dad. He was out of there. But Terp will tell you, anytime Rager is brought up, there's a video of, I think so, going into Rager's sophomore year, he had an electric touchdown catch in training camp, and Terp was field level, and the camera pans at Terp like both hands, like Rocky. And he was as big a Rager guy as you can get, and is one of his coldest takes.
I liked Rager though coming out, man. I mean, he should have been a lot better than he was. His tape was pretty good.
I mean, TCU receivers. I mean, Quentin's probably the best of the bunch.
By the way, thank you for putting my Davante Adams take from last year in the Open. Nailed it. Making me look like I know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, I will say, I selectively edited that clip.
I don't care.
Nobody
needs to know that.
Yeah, but the take was sound. There was just like an additional hot take in regards to Puka about it that we didn't need to include. But
no, of course not.
Let me ask you though. We're going back up, but Puka at the 104. I mean, Davante had a great year. Mm-hmm. All they added was, Max Clare in the second round to the tight end room. But Max Clare was really good at Purdue, but then at Ohio State, he was just kind of a, secondary option. Who knows what he can present? Obviously, they drafted Terrence Ferguson last year, but is Davante Adams just kind of what we talked about earlier in the show, being this kind of not a sexy pick? Yeah, it's not as fun as drafting some of these rookies or maybe these potential sophomore leaps. Davante Adams, wide receiver 26, with the red zone threat he presents. Sean McVay, that offense should still be clicking. Is he a value for you, Brian?
Well, everybody assumes, and I'm probably guilty of it as well, that Davante Adams is just now he's cooked. He's going to take this massive step back. I mean, what if he doesn't? What if he's still Davante Adams? He's a Hall of Famer. And, I've done enough shows with John to know that, you can fade certain guys except ones that are going to Canton. That's kind of a thing John's always said.
Yeah.
But I will say this also. Are we positive Matthew Stafford's throwing 46 touchdowns again after
He's not.
20 the year before, 24 the year before that? I mean, I think we could see the whole Rams unit as a whole take a step back.
Okay.
He's not throwing 46 touchdowns again. No way.
Current Super Bowl favorites.
It's a feel thing. It's a year-to-year thing, with older receivers. I'm a major ageist. That's my one exception. If you're Canton bound, I'll take your ass at wide receiver at 30 years or older. And I was with Brian on Davante Adams last year. I was very high on Davante Adams. Thank God it worked out. But really, it was, what do you have, 780 yards? I mean,
was the goal line. He was the goal line running back, essentially.
Yeah.
But
that was Brian's belief in him. Right. The red zone targets.
Yeah. But now you got 17 good tight ends on the roster.
Yeah.
And, between him and Mike Evans, both had hamstring problems last year. I see a 32, 33-year-old receiver with hamstring problems the year before. I'm like, you know what? Let's just quit now while we're ahead. So I'm out on those two guys.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Fantasy Meatball in the chat. This is my guy.
Oh, the Fantasy Meatball. Is that from, is that Sirius XM caller guy?
Met, and Meatball goes to the Fantasy Football Expo, and I paired up with him, and he was my guy for the Fans Classic. I had to nominate a fan to play in this Fans Classic. Meatball goes out and wins the son of a bitch. So shout out to Meatball.
It's a shame Meatball, never got a chance to be in a league with Meatloaf, because that would have been an epic battle. Meatloaf versus Meatball. Let's go.
No. And I love it. Meatball not even recognizing that he's getting the shout out here. He's on to the Aubrey pick. There we go.
By the way, I was very wrong on freaking TJ Hawkinson last year. Let me just say that. He's annoyed the crap out of me from day one, because been pretty good. But when he was coming out, I'm like, man, this guy is the next Gronk. Like, he's a stud. And he's had some good years, but I should have known. I was at his combine. He comes out to the podium. I'm like, dude didn't even comb his hair. He's all disheveled, it's like, dude, this is a job interview. I was like underwhelming. And there was like an alarm going off in the back of my head, like abort, abort, abort. And of course I can't because the guy doesn't comb his hair. So I stuck with him. And last year I was high on him. And obviously it was horrible. But, Kyler Murray, certainly short quarterback, typically doesn't throw that great over the middle, but he certainly supported Trey McBride. And, at this point, it's probably worth a shot as a tight end, too. If they're going to move the ball, maybe he starts getting some red zone love. Not bad, but, he's definitely been an underwhelming guy. But I would have, taken him over like Hunter Henry or Dalton Schultz, too. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I'd probably go
What you were saying.
10 last year.
Yeah.
The guy had 106 targets.
I know.
And they didn't add anybody. Nothing changed. I guess Tank Dell. The shell of Tank Dell might be back, but that's
I thought they added a tight end. Did they add a tight end?
I believe they added a blocking tight end.
A blocking Klein, yeah, Marlon Klein. Yeah, okay. Yeah. We're fine.
Yeah.
And Foster Moreau. Ooh.
Foster Moreau popped back there because Fanatics, horrible company.
Brevin Jordan is still on this roster.
Really?
Somebody tell me, is he doing custodial work? Is he like an accountant for the Texans? Because I have not seen that man play football, and it feels like 3 years.
Fantasy Meatball saying he had Devontae Adams on the winning Fans Classic team.
Yeah, Meatball was
murdering people
out there. Jeez. Hey, I got to talk about this Brandon Aubrey pick here.
Yeah.
At the 12-12. I did a draft for a magazine the other day, and I took Brandon Aubrey probably right around here. And I said in the notes in there, I go, listen, if you're in a redraft home league and you get 4 points for a 40, 5 for more for a 50-point or for a 50-yard field goal, there's nothing wrong with this point in the draft taking Brandon Aubrey because he's money in the bank. If you're going to get who would you rather have? If you get 5 or more points for 50-yard field goals, would you rather have on your team Brandon Aubrey, who you're going to start every week, or Tajay Spears?
Yeah, totally.
Any of these guys. I mean, come on.
It's about impact players in the starting lineup. I'm all about it. Stephon Diggs went before him, and he's currently unemployed. Tyler Algier is the definition of a jag. So, yeah, impact player for the starting lineup. I've got Brandon Aubrey in a Superflex FFPC Dynasty, and I'm clinging to him with dear life. I mean, he's one of my keepers.
Yeah. It's not cool for a fantasy analyst to say, like, oh, don't take a kicker to your last round. Screw that. Brandon Aubrey's great. Is he going to be the number one kicker every year? I don't know. Probably not. But on a week-in, week-out basis, that dude can win you a week.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, just break out the dartboard when you're trying to figure out who's going to be a good kicker. I mean, maybe Chris Boswell. He's always been solid. But, yeah, no doubt. He's elite.
Would you guys believe me if I tell you this is a fall for Brandon Aubrey? He usually goes in the middle of the 11th round.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, how about defenses? Because, man, there have become – I mean, I've seen this happen in real time over the course of 30 years where it used to be like you could actually analyze it and select a really good defense. But now I feel like
you pay me to do that for your website.
Well, that's on a weekly basis. I'm talking redraft, because here's the problem. You may make a great pick, but they're going to run into a bad matchup or two or have a couple of bad games, and you're dropping their ass.
I'll tell you.
Does anyone pay up for defenses now?
Here's the defense to take. Just take Seattle. Week 1, they're home against New England, who they destroyed. Week 2, at Arizona. Week 3, at Washington. That's a good start right there. You're probably going to want to stream, pick up some other guys from there, but that's about as good as you can get the first 3 weeks. New England, Arizona, Washington. I'd take that.
I mean, I'm looking at our fantasy points projections, and our projections we tracked it with the best in the industry last year. Pittsburgh, Philly, Green Bay, top 3. I'm not into any of that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Fantasy defenses are all about matchups. It's about, are you going against bad quarterbacks, bad coordinators, and bad offensive lines? Can you somehow get a strip sack turnover or a pick six. That's what wins you games with these defenses. So target teams with really crappy O-lines and quarterbacks.
Of course, there's no defense in these, right?
In the Baby Gorilla, there is defense. Yeah.
Oh, there is. Okay, I'm confusing formats here. I'm looking back at my team.
The FFPC best ball tournaments are no defense, no kicker.
Oh, okay, right.
But yeah, for our managed, or old school.
That's right. Yeah, last year I tried out the Vikings and the Packers. I had the Vikings and the Packers, who we currently have both in our top 5. Of course, they didn't do crap for me last year, but we have them in our top 5. That just goes to show how just out there these defenses are. But like I said, bust out the dartboard.
Yeah, stream every week. You can't just set it and forget it.
Yeah. Brian, I want to ask you real quick. John was obviously talking about Hawkinson and the potential with Kyler there. Juwan Jennings just signed there, essentially assumably going to fill that big slot role. Another guy who maybe could be a potential recipient of those Kyler Murray checkdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kyler Murray going right now, I'm looking at our projections at fantasypoints.com. We have him at QB 18. He's ahead of Jordan Love, ahead of Baker, ahead of Mahomes even in terms of total fantasy points. So I think this is going to be the Kyler Murray, reclamation tour. He's going to look good. He's going to run. He's got a bevy of weapons, playing in perfect conditions. And he's going to be fine. I think he's going to start a lot of games in fantasy football for owners this year. So, do I want him as my starting quarterback on draft day? No. But if I'm taking a couple of quarterbacks, maybe I'm rolling. I'm just waiting forever. And I go, all right, give me Purdy or, Dart. And then, down the road, give me Kyler. There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, we've seen in recent years, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith. We've seen, quarterbacks who've been discarded go to elite offensive minds, and their careers, Baker Mayfield, and their careers are.
Oh, he'll do well. I'm a lifelong Vikings fan. He'll do well, and then he'll crap to bed in the playoffs. Period. And then he'll get paid by somebody else, and the Vikings will be in a precarious spot where they don't know where the hell they're going at the position, unless. I think the best case scenario for JJ McCarthy is if Kyler plays and gets hurt, and then McCarthy comes in and plays well. That's it.
Were you a fan of the JJ McCarthy pick when it happened, John?
Yeah, I was, because I've been a fan for a long, long time. So they haven't drafted anywhere close to elite quarterback in 60 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a long time. I know Dante Culpepper had a good run, and I was a big Culpepper guy for fantasy, but he wasn't certainly elite. He played with 2 Hall of Fame quarterback or wide receivers, and he ran. So my thing, and I told this to the Vikings GM who was fired, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, 2 years in a row. I cornered him, and I was like, look, in my opinion, as a lifelong fan for 50 years, the Vikings are not going to get to the promised land unless they have a transcendent player at quarterback, a homegrown guy. And look, you got to take shots. McCarthy is talented. He's a national champion. He lost like 3 games in his damn life before he played in the NFL. And as horrific as it was last year, I mean, they did win games when he played. I think he had a winning record, if you can believe that. And they were just half a game out of the playoffs. They had one of the best defenses in the NFL. They may have gone on a run, but again, I think the ship has sailed. There's something else going on with McCarthy. But I do understand why the Vikings went out and got Murray, but it's just a Band-Aid, and I'm sick of Band-Aids. I've been dealing with Band-Aids here for decades in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. John, I wanted to ask you on the rookie receiver subject, a couple guys. Obviously, Denzel Boston was not a first rounder, but in that 30 to 40 range of the NFL draft, team 8 here takes Omar Cooper, the Jets receiver we talked about, and then Denzel Boston. We already touched on kind of the Jets and the potential with Geno maybe to slightly rebound and the weapons they have. What are your thoughts on Denzel Boston? They're already receiving some positive buzz, even more so than Casey Concepcion in Cleveland.
You talking to me or Brian? Sorry.
Either one. I was talking to you, John, but Brian can take it.
Okay. That's probably why Brian clammed up. I thought I was a big Boston guy. We did a podcast before the draft where I popped out maybe 10, 12 players who I'm like, I think I like them a little bit more than the masses. Now, maybe there's concerns, separation and all that, but, Mr. Contested Catch, unbelievable hands, huge target. So, I think obviously Concepcion is the sexier guy, the gadgety guy, the inside-outside guy. Does have some issues with drops. So where did they go relative one another? Like Boston goes like what, 2 rounds later?
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at this draft. Boston went in the 16th round, and Concepcion went in the 10th.
Oh,
6 round difference.
Well, I think because of the body type and the type of player Boston is, I think if he's shows that he's kind of ready for this in year 1, he's going to get on the field because he's a great X receiver. That's not Casey Concepcion. So I think Denzel Boston was the better pick there, including the fact that there was 5-6 rounds between them.
Mm-hmm. I got to ask about another rookie receiver. This one for you, Brian. Obviously, 49ers were kind of mocked on Deshaun's dribbling pick. Many people thought it was way over. But there's a ready-made role for him to kind of replace Juwan Jennings as that big slot. He was a really good blocker. And for all that people talk about Omar Cooper's yak, Deshaun's dribbling actually had more. We obviously know that Kyle Shanahan is a brilliant offensive mind.
Mm-hmm.
Is dribbling a guy who, people mock and then he proves them wrong? Or do you see him, rightfully being a silly early reach by the 49ers?
I remember listening to the draft. I was listening to NFL radio when that pick was made. I think I was outside, like mowing my lawn or something. And the guys who were doing the draft, I think it was our guy Jim Miller and someone else, and they were like, the 49ers just took a guy who's literally like not even on the board for other teams at this point. Like, what an insane reach. And that seems to be the way that the 49ers have drafted over the last few years. Now, I just tend to look at the 49ers and say, there's a lot of mouths to feed here, especially when George Kittle comes back, and you got Mike Evans, and you got our guy Ricky Pearsall, and Christian McCaffrey's going to catch 700 balls. Like, I have no interest in Stribling. I don't think he's going to do anything this year. I think it's a nice name. He'll be maybe a shot play guy once in a blue moon, but for fantasy in a redraft league where you have to manage a league and put him in the lineup, he's never going to help you unless Mike Evans goes down. Maybe that's the case. But other than that, I have no interest in him.
Well, has Kalen Black, by the way, gone off the board? Speaking of the Niners?
Yeah, 17th round.
Oh, okay. Because if Jalen Wright and Justice Hill went in front of Kalen Black, I mean, that's egregious. But good job there by taking Black. I still can't believe he was not invited to the combine. We talked about that podcast I did where I'm like, here are some players I'm higher on. I think the masses, he was definitely one of them. And then it turns out the Niners, who love drafting late round running backs, I guess, and quarterbacks, they had him as their number 2 running back over Jadarian Price. I just thought he looked really good there, playing for Signetti at the other school at James Madison. But then did a really good job last year. National championship game, he was way better than Hemby. I think he's got really good vision, contact balance. He's got some bursts. They didn't use him in a passing game, but I think he can do it. I mean, he showed well in the drills at the Senior Bowl. So Kalen Black is a bona fide sleeper this year. Perfect pick in round 17.
And I've been sharing a stat. Essentially, when Christian McCaffrey kind of sets his own personal record for career touches, he follows that up in the previous injury with pretty bad injuries. Not predicting that by any means, but it is just something. And, the Niners, for all people do kind of mock them, they do have clear belief in their guys. There's a question in the chat, John. I want you to take it because you did talk about him. Your guy, Fantasy Meatball, I'm assuming he's on the clock in a dynasty rookie draft. He said at the 111, do you prefer Denzel Boston or Omar Cooper Jr.?
Yeah.
Just 2 dog shit situations.
Yeah, I had Cooper higher pre-draft. Probably, well, this is just for this year, right? This is Dynasty, right?
Yeah.
That's real. I think I might just go Cooper just because he's a little bit more versatile, fits with the current game a little bit more, I guess, than like your old school big prototypical X receiver. They've got Harold Fannin, they've got Concepcion, and they might have a quarterback conundrum indefinitely. So I'm going to go Omar Cooper there and bet that he plays a lot, obviously. Pretty good spot opposite Garrett Wilson. And the Jets quarterback, they got to fix it next year. I mean, hopefully these guys who are anticipating going in the draft in 2027, hopefully that group of 5-6 guys doesn't suck this year, because if they hold true to form, it should be an incredibly deep quarterback class next year.
Yeah. Terp, how's Scotty doing?
Projectile vomit never gets old, man. And my wife's like, I need you. Ran downstairs real quick, got it all cleaned up. We're back in action.
Yeah, but we were impressed with your dedication. We heard the call for help, and you were there in a second.
Out of there in a second.
Did you get a fresh high noon on the way back?
I didn't. I was just running back up there to get back home before you guys ended. I should have, though.
Terp, how about I hit you with one question? Zachariah Branch, Falcons quarterbacks, Michael Penix, Tua Tagovailoa, really not too exciting, but Zachariah Branch is an interesting name. I'm assuming you're going to say probably more of a late round best ball pick, but do you think this is a guy who could develop as kind of a number 2 as the speed threat on quick slants, on bubble passes, on screens, opposite Drake London there in Atlanta?
A lot of positive press early on, I guess, from Branch. Obviously, it's early in the game. Pads aren't on yet. They're just running around pretty much. He has some juice, has some speed. But this is Drake London's team. This is Drake London's show. Like I said, Zachariah Branch, do I think he could be potentially a best ball guy? Yeah. Do I ever see anyone ever getting excited about him in a redraft? Not really. I just think this is Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and then just a wild uncertainty at the quarterback position. We didn't even mention Bijan Robinson yet, but with Tua, with Penix, I mean, do we really think they're good enough in a division that's underrated, in my opinion, to actually warrant? I mean, Jahan Dodson's there, who's, okay NFL receiver. I just don't see it. I mean, I think there's, more of a dynasty guy, a down the road type of guy. Maybe if they get a quarterback type of guy. But this year, I don't know. I just would rather have other guys.
Terp, you know what you missed? A Jalen Reagor discussion.
It brings back nightmares. My group
I brought
chat.
up the video of you, cheering on Jalen Reagor in training.
I was in the background. He made that one-handed catch in training camp. I said he was the next Tyreek Hill. It was one of the worst takes I've ever had in my life. I owned it. I talk about it all the time. My group chat brings it up all the time. They rip me, and that's fine. I deserve it. Could never figure out the mental part of the game. I'll stand on that hill. I still think he had some sort of talent. He just couldn't figure out
definitely had a talent.
The basics of the NFL game. But yeah,
is he in the UFL or is he on a roster somewhere?
Last time I checked, he was trying out for a team and didn't make it. I don't remember what the team was. I think it might have been the Browns. I could be totally wrong, like a tryout type of thing. But
there's always some, I think as John mentioned, like Brevin Jordan still on a roster. Like Laquan Treadmill was still on an NFL roster last year.
I love Brevin Jordan before he got hurt.
Yeah,
Ryan Flournoy going in the 19th round here. Guy's the third receiver on the Cowboys.
These drafters ripping off an hour draft. How about that?
Amazing.
Thank you.
Team 12. I want to mention Team 12 real quick. To me, Team 12 has had one of the best, if not the best, drafts. But one pick that I just want to point out: 19th round Darnell Mooney is stealing right now. The uncertainty with Malik Neighbors. It seems like he's starting to gel a little bit with Dart early on. Obviously, I know that's all could be smoke and mirrors. Darius Slayton coming off a little bit of I think sports hernia surgery is correct. And Malachi Fields, young rookie, who knows, unknown at that point. Why not Darnell Mooney? The 19th round again.
I'm not allowed to talk. I'm not allowed to. Sorry to cut you. I'm not allowed to talk Darnell Mooney because no one has backed Darnell Mooney.
Number one owned. So far through all the drafts I've done, Darnell Mooney is my number one owned player by a large margin.
Jeez,
it just
that's how you know you're in the fantasy weeds. Yeah.
It just
even 2 years ago, he was really good in Atlanta, and he was just banged up.
If you believe in Jackson Dart, I mean, I'm an Eagles fan, but I think the Giants are very much improved. I think, in my opinion, the Giants are the second best team in that division. I'm a Cowboys hater, whatever you want to say. That's cool. But Jackson Dart.
What do you want to say? Like, you are.
People know I'm a Cowboys hater. It's fair. It's whatever. I mean, I think they got a lot of talent, but they just are the Cowboys. They always get in their own way. But
I mean, business is slow if you're a Cowboy hater. They haven't won in 3 decades.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But back to Darnell Mooney, a lot of potential there. I like Likely. Likely's another one of the guys. I just like the Giants a lot this year. I like a lot of their players, that you can get a little later. That's not like you're not spending a ton of capital on. Malik Neighbors, I'll say it now. I will have 0% Malik Neighbors. I mean, if he falls in a range where it gets crazy, and I draft a ton of teams, so Malik Neighbors might find his way on a couple. But in any of the big drafts that we do in Vegas, the high stakes leagues, Malik Neighbors will not make one of my teams. I am very worried about everything that's going on. Yeah, it could turn out to be a whole lot of smoke and mirrors, but I'm going to take my stand and watch somebody else take Neighbors.
How about the 17th round pick of Jerry Jeudy? We were talking Browns receivers.
Yeah, we're seeing pretty good. Jerry Jeudy makes so much sense. Where's the downside?
I mean, he's the one.
Stays in Cleveland. What's the downside?
None. Okay, he's the one.
Average. Let's say he gets traded.
Right. He's still only 27.
A lot of potential spots. Let's say he gets moved to Kansas City or Miami or some team like that. It might not look the prettiest in Miami, but somebody's
Miami native. Miami native Jerry Jeudy.
Somebody's got to catch the ball.
Rams were sniffing around another receiver.
Jerry Jeudy, another
downside
one.
Is he can't catch.
So Brandon Ayuk won't draft any man. Thanks for coming, Brandon.
Brian, John, an absolute pleasure. Before you guys go, though, as I always like to do, please, one more time, if you could tell us where to find you guys, find all your work, where to listen to the pods. Just please give us all that, how to follow you on Twitter. We want all that because the people deserve to get all the great information that you guys provide.
Yeah, you can follow me at Drake Fantasy on X, Twitter, whatever you're calling it today. And yeah, I work with John. I love it. It's a total dream. I get to do 2 pods a week with my man, the Guru, all throughout the season. Check us out wherever you get your podcast. Just search Fantasy Points Podcast and go over to fantasypoints.com. We're going to give you 10% off a subscription using our code FPP26. Save you 10% off subscription there. But yeah, John's a Hall of Famer. I was a fan of John before I even got into the industry. So the fact that I get to call him my friend and get to do 2 shows a week with him is an absolute blast.
And I just like, giving opportunities to, younger people in this business. That's one of the things I did when I did the Sirius XM morning show, and I retired because I'm like, I've been there, done that. Otherwise I'm just hogging up the airwaves. So I'm like, let me step aside and have Brian and our guys, Joe Dolan, Tom Brawley. So I'm into that. I like to pay it forward and do things like this. So thanks for the invite.
Yeah, we appreciate it, guys. Brian Drake, John Hansen, ladies and gentlemen. Terp, that's going to do it for us. We will be back Sunday, June 7th, to cover our first live main event draft of the year, 9 p.m. Believe tentative plan is Theo Greminger is going to be joining you, me, Jake Venuti, the 3 Goombas back reunited after a rare live draft off. We will be back that Sunday, and then keep an eye out because we may be game planning a little best ball tournament draft against Terp action in the middle of June. So keep your eyes up. But June 7th is our next live stream, main event, $1 million on the line with Theo Greminger. We'll see you guys then. Thank you for everyone who tuned in and commented.